Okay.
And we are recording.
Okay. So just kind of a little overview, and I'll try to hit everything that you just said as far as mentoring, school, retention, motivation, things like that, and how we incorporate that into the program. So first things first, the WIOA program, it stands for Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. It is federally funded by the government and by our state, federally and locally state. And we are actually contracted through a third party called ResCare, but essentially our funds do come from the state. So therefore, there are regulation, guidelines, policies that we have to follow in order for us to assist any individual. I'm not sure how y'all's program is. I feel like it's on the same line, but because we spend money, we have to be able to justify that in order to help these youth, right? And so to get along and to focus on the youth program, we have other adult programs, but let's just focus on the youth for now. So the two youth programs are ISY and OSY. ISY stands for in-school youth, and then OSY stands for out-of-school youth. The in-school youth age is from 14 to 21, and the out-of-school youth is from 16 to 24. So if they're between those ages, and we can be able to kind of move forward in the eligibility process, right? So to have someone come into our program and to be able to assist them, we have to look at different things. We have to look at barriers that they might have. We have to look at income. Our programs are created in a way to reach to those youth who have certain barriers that hinder them from becoming self-sufficient. That's our whole goal. That's our whole primary goal. When someone comes into our program, we want to make sure that we set them up in order to be on the right path or on self-sufficient wages. So, for example, let's say a 15-year-old comes in. They're eligible for the program, they're in school or they're out of school. Let's say they are thinking about dropping out of high school because it's not for them, right? This is when we come in and we kind of set up and meet with them one-on-one, a plan on, what's the issues? How can we assist you, and how can we identify the problems that are hindering you from wanting to go to school or from wanting you to, be this great person as far as have the career that you want, have this high school diploma. And we look at that. And then one of the ways that we hit those issues, those barriers, is by reaching out to their families, reaching out to their teachers, reaching out to people that work with them on a daily basis. This isn't just, one-on-one me working with somebody. It takes a team to help somebody, right? Depending on where they're from. So let's say they're struggling with, let's say studying. Just having the motivation to study, because that's a big part, working with the youth. We all can see that just having them sit down and read a book, or just looking at the material and wanting to do the work, most people might say it's laziness, but that might not always be true. We have to look at the root of the problem, look at why are they not wanting to study. And laziness might be a small issue, but maybe it's self-confidence. Maybe it's, I'm not smart enough. Or maybe it's, I don't feel like this is necessary. Why do I have to do math? This is where the counselors here in our program, we work one-on-one with them. And we also work a lot with our alumni too, who've been through the program and who have actually succeeded. And so we might actually have them reach out and become some sort of mentor. So one of the elements that we have to hit is within our program in order for us to get paid is mentoring. So a big thing is reaching out to our alumni who's been through the program and working with them. So of course, with permission from the parents, from the youth, and of course from our alumni, they would reach out to them and see what they can do to help them. So motivation. Yes.
So can I share with the group something really quick?
Yeah.
They when you talked about barriers in income, all of our families fit in that criteria because they have that migrant status, or that's one of the barriers that POPs would make them eligible. And if they're pregnant or things like that. So
Yeah,
that would even.
yeah, and to kind of get a little bit into the eligibility process. So, for example, if they're out of school youth, they have to be out of school for at least 3 months, and they have to have at least one barrier. So the barrier could be they're involved with the justice system, they are parent or pregnant or parenting youth. Um, they're receiving any sort of benefits with their families as far as SNAP, TANF, SSI, things like that. And then, but if they're in school youth, they have to have low income plus an additional barrier. So that's kind of how we look at things. And one thing I've got to say, basic eligibility for us, in order for us to help someone and put someone into our program, they have to um, be authorized to work in the United States. They have to be able to provide IDs and social security card or a passport, some sort of residency, something that they're able to work here and be here. Um, so that's the first thing we look at before we kind of move forward. But yeah, those are kind of the two things that we look at when putting someone into our program. And of course, like every program department, our funds can be limited sometimes. Let's say we input someone into the program that is wanting, let's say they're 18, they just graduated high school 3 months ago, and they don't really know what they're doing. They're just sitting at home, odd jobs here and there. Let's say they're wanting to go to some type of training, get their CDL, be a pharmacy tech. I mean, we offer certain amounts of trainings that are in high demand in our area. That's one thing that we can look at and assisting for, right? But I'd never like to promise it just because it's on a case-by-case basis. But there are so many other resources that they can get out of being in the program. So I kind of have a list here and things that, as a department that we do, we love to have events, and we like to invite local agencies to come over and speak to our youth. And we also, we're big on testimony too, and people who've struggled in the community and who's made it out of things like, whichever past they have. That we found that really gets the youth kind of opening up their eyes and seeing, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can pursue that. So, you know, right now we're not doing it, but we usually have our classes every month of a topic over something. So recently we just paired up with ADAC, and every quarter they come and they do a alcohol and awareness class, but they bring the individuals who actually struggle with that. So it's not just a class setting. No, we sit in a circle, we talk about things that we're going. And I know you mentioned earlier, Monica, that transportation is an issue, can be an issue or be a barrier, as far as whether that may look like. Being in the program, we're able to provide some sort of assistance. So we can provide gas cards, and we can provide bus passes. As far as if someone needs to go to work, someone needs to go to training, they need to come to an event, things like that. But they have to be in the program, and they have to be able to justify to us that they're actually going to where they're going. So attendance sheets are required, things like that, a signature for someone, because we need to be able to justify the money that we're spending on transportation for the youth, right? And so that's one thing that we can assist with. Supportive services, we look at a lot of things when we think of supportive services, transportation being one. And then let's say we are working with the youth and they're going to training, and they need materials, books, supplies, scrubs, anything. We'll be able to fund that if it's approved. That's one thing that we'll look at paying for sure.
Can I ask
But
something, Pops?
of course,
And it might have changed because we
yeah.
have in the past,
Mm-hmm.
our migrant students have filled out the paperwork or been part of the WOA.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we thought is, when you say help provide for the training, so like we give them gas cards and we I think it was last year, the year before. And Alex, remind me, because I don't remember if it was last year, the year like 2 years ago. It might have been 2 years ago because they've graduated now. It might have been about a year and a half, 2 years. But y'all mentioned that y'all can't help them out the first year, or am I thinking of somebody else?
Okay, so yeah, as far as school is concerned, there's a lot of kind of underlining, I guess, policies and stuff. So I think you're referring to prereqs, right? Maybe first year. A lot of individuals come in saying that they need help with school or college or training. But one thing we're not, and this is according to the policies and things that we have to, follow, is we don't cover prereq. So let's say someone's going in for LVN or RN, right? That's a super popular one. But in order to get those, you need to complete your prereqs in college. So you need your anatomies, your math, your sciences, your Englishes. We won't be able to fund that. But we do guide, and with them in completing their FAFSA, see if they do receive grant money from a Pell Grant that they don't have to pay back. So we look at different options. I know things right now are evolving as far as like the WIOA program. We're adding new things or looking at different things like, so like I work with the youth, but I also work with foster youth. So I'm focusing on that, working on kind of both sides of things. And so every day we're kind of evolving and looking at different things. And I think too, it's important to kind of realize when we're helping the youth and we're trying to get them motivated and trying to get them into doing what they want to do. And most importantly, trying to overcome the barriers that they have, because you can't do anything if we don't address the barriers first. And that can take, anywhere, I have a situation right now where a case, one of my youth, is just got out of a ugly situation at home, and now is trying to find his or her feet, back from finding housing and finding, just quick income to pay for things like that. So, the span of and when they enter into the program can be anywhere from 3 months to a year. It just really depends. So when they're in the program, we look at that. And then once they're out of the program, let's say they finish up, and they're successful or they have something lined up, we X them out of the program. They're ready to be on their own. They're self-sufficient. But additionally, we have a 12-month follow-up. So even though they're out of the program, we're still contacting them every month to make sure they're okay, I guess, in a sense. So yeah, any questions? I feel like I'm kind of going off the edge, or any specific questions that y'all have?
No, that's good, because when we talk to families, we don't want to tell them the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
So when you say you do monthly follow-ups, is that mentorship? So we provide the mentorship, it's a once a month follow-up with the student?
Yeah, so so it's phone calls, it's text messaging, it's we're trying to get Zoom up right now. We're trying to set it up where we can see them in person through virtual. It's mailing, it's things. That's a requirement from our program, is to follow up with them a month. But when we talk to our youth and when we establish that rapport, we want them to call us. We want them to call us 800 times in a month if they want to, but that's just a requirement from us. But, in reality, we want them to follow up with us anytime there's a success, they need something, there's an issue. Being a case manager, that's kind of our sole job. But yeah.
See, because with the OSY, some of the OSY I've worked with, they would send messages like on Snapchat.
Okay.
At 10 o'clock at night. Like, can you help me on this math problem? And I'm like,
yeah.
One eye
open. Exactly, yeah. So, of course, we can't have any of our clients on social medias, but we do have certain phone numbers that we use. We have a text messaging system that's set up to our computers and phones. That's a different number that they can contact, and we'll see with them. It's just really, I'm be honest, if I received a message at 1 a.m., I'm not going to answer it because I'll probably be asleep. But I'll answer as soon as I get there, as soon as I wake up and get to work. But I mean, yeah, that's kind of our requirements, what we do. But
we have also a Facebook group just for our migrant families.
Oh, really?
That And
Okay.
I feel like that's really been able to also connect us
Yeah.
a bit more with them. Do y'all have
Yeah.
something like that besides the
Yeah, so we don't have that, but I know like for the for the foster youth that I work with, we have it through the group home. So like I'm on that, but I'm through a different entity. Like I said, it's kind of weird. HIPAA's super big. They really hide on that here in at workforce, so we can't. We don't want to connect things people to each other without signatures and approval. So social media, we do use social media a lot, and I'll create like on this day we have this event coming, and I won't invite it to different youth, but I'll like send it through email. So there's ways that we can do that, so we can see if they're coming, so we can get a gist of who's all coming to our event. But yeah, but as far as like a Facebook group, like a social, where all of us who are in the program or are in it, we don't have that. But
or
we do. Go ahead. Sorry.
I know the mentorship, but I know a lot of our students are having trouble with school, and you had mentioned like tutoring,
Yeah.
like those resources. Can you go into details on that?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. So as far as tutoring looks like, well, when I talk about tutoring and the things that um, we're supposed to provide, so that's one of the elements in our youth program that we hound on. So all of our students who are either in school or in training have issues with that. So um, we have different ways and methods when approaching that sense. So if they're in training and we're paying for it, and we're whichever like, so I'm talking in higher education, college right now, and not into high school. But we actually make it a requirement for them to go to the tutoring there at the college or university. And for myself, I also set aside a time to speak on the phone with them if they're not able to get it and see if I can do it. Um, some of the stuff, even though I have a degree, I don't know everything and it's hard to, so I'll work one-on-one with them a lot. But one thing that I did kind of establish once I got in, started working, was creating tutoring sessions with the group. So like we have a lot of people who are in CNA or are LVN or CDO, and they have to study for exam and tests or whatever. So like I'll set aside a time here and they can actually come to the office and bring their materials and work with that. Right now, I'm trying to create like some virtual aspect that we can do that, kind of like class or tutoring and things like that on a specific subject. Or like we have a lot of students who are getting their GED for the first time, and so that is basic, or not even basic, but it's your math, your sciences, your English, your history, things like that. And even I struggle with some of those questions and some of those things too. And so I'll create like sessions here where people will just come when they have the time. So like, let's say on a Thursday from 3 to 5, come if to just have a quiet place to just get away from your everyday life, just to come and study and do whatever. We have a computer lab that's empty that we will have them come and do their studies or do their job searches or do anything related to education or employment. That's what we'll set aside time for them to do. If I know a lot of our
I have a
programs,
question on
yeah,
the, so if they were in your program, if they're enrolled in WIOA and they're like in school, do you
yeah,
provide the Wi-Fi for if they don't have Wi-Fi?
right. So that's something that we've actually been talking about, as far as why. So like, right now, no, we don't provide Wi-Fi as a supportive service or need. But I know I put 2 individuals into training to get to be a clinical assistant and pharmacy tech, but they don't have Wi-Fi. But we were able to team up. Suddenly, Altus has free Wi-Fi for students, and we contacted them to see if we can and that's one way we had them to start classes and do things. And that gave them a little bit of a push too, because they only have Wi-Fi for a certain amount of time. So it pushes them to do that, to get their work done. And another option is if they don't have it, they can come here and use our computers as well. So they just need to be able to communicate with that to us. And if they're not able to get here and transport here, then they have to communicate that and see what we can do get a bus pass, get you a gas card, have mom drop you off for a second, something like an after school tutoring session type deal. It's just everyone's case by case basis. But yeah. And right now, I think I talked to you about this too, Monica, for when we were talking, but like I'm trying to create like support groups, like small support groups for who are in the WIOA program in different areas of town. So like us five, well, let's meet at Starbucks. Let's meet at, somewhere quiet that has Wi-Fi, that has the resources that they can use to study, or just if they want to come talk and vent or whatever. That's something that it's in the works right now, but we're trying to create and establish. But so the program can offer many different things. But I like to say this, we can provide all this and we can do all this and we can call and motivate and talk to them, but at the end of the day, it's really up to the client and up to their families if they're supporting them. I see a lot of youth who come in and they're super excited. They want to restart their life. They dropped out of high school, they want to do this, and they're good. They get started, and then something happens, and they'll fall off, and then I'm contacting them. I'm doing home visits. I can't get in touch. So it's not always going to work, right? But we can do the best that we can. But it really is just case by case basis in a lot of things. But yeah, we do offer a lot of resources and things like that. But I don't like to say it's promised to, like training and things like that, being able to provide amounts of money. But there is still a lot of things that you can get out of it. To set you up for success. I mean, we have so many resources that we can use and learn and teach, so.
We contact our families. We have a weekly, especially
Okay.
now, and I think, and ladies, y'all can comment, or we feel maybe the students need a mentor,
Yeah.
and then a tutor, especially
Yeah.
a math, and it's good, the one-on-one. Would you consider partnering up if we were to get a tutor for our migrant students? Would y'all help and fund that tutor? Like that provides a service directly to them
Yeah.
if they're in the program?
Yeah. So that's a question that I'd have to bring up to management. That's not something I could say yes or no, because that's like it's federal funds, right? And so everything's based on policies and guidelines as far as money is concerned, and what we can spend and what we can do. But that's something I can definitely actually bring up in our staff meeting, to them, and and see what we can do.
The other thing, I know last year we partnered up and y'all provided funding for us on life skills videos.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What about tutoring videos? Kind of how like you have these sessions. So like for the TV and but maybe Spanish videos, if we could get somebody to track somebody to do these videos in Spanish, like target our migrant students, or maybe even like that would target our students, but to like their parents or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, it all sounds doable for sure. I mean, I wouldn't see any reason why, but of course I'll have to bring it up in the staff meeting and things like that. And I don't want to promise anything, right? So I want to make sure it's written down and everything and approved by them. But no, I wouldn't see why not. And that sounds like something we can do. I mean, of course we have to reach numbers, and we have our things that we have to meet. And so I wouldn't see any reason why we wouldn't team up and things like that. One of the things that we, have to do is working with the community and seeing what we can even provide volunteer time too. So that's one of the requirements from us as working with workforce. So most definitely can bring that up. I didn't see why not. I think as far as just that general overall, things that we can do. That's kind of what we have. Of course, we have so many different resources as well. Childcare is something that we can provide. So if someone's in our program and they do have a child, it's pretty much an automatic into the childcare program because they're in the WIOA program. All they need to do is prove that they are doing 25 hours of either employment or education or something, and then find a place that'd be willing to take them, and then childcare would pay for that. But yeah, there's different things.
I have a few questions because
Okay.
it's about to be up. But first, what counties does it cover?
Okay, so we covered 13 counties. Let me think right now. So obviously Concho Valley. I'm name up all the towns: El Dorado, Cristobal, Sonora, Ozona, Brady, Sterling City. It'd be better if I send you a map.
Menard?
I can send Menard. We cover Menard. Yeah, we cover Menard. Ooh, Junction. We cover Junction. Yeah, it's 13 counties. I can send you a map of the counties we cover and kids that we work with. So yeah, but yeah, it's a big area that we cover for sure. 13
The
counties.
other thing you talked about, in order to provide services or be part of the program, they have to have social security number or some type of visa, right?
Yes. So are y'all familiar with an I-9 form?
Yes.
Yes. So we go off that. And they can provide either the list of A, which is a passport, residence card, or they can provide B and C, which is ID, school ID, social, certified birth certificate, court records, baptismal, whichever it says on that list. That's what we go off of, the I-9 form. So, and that's like first step basic eligibility. So, and even so, let's say.
So my question is, so sometimes, what about what if the parents are undocumented, but they have a child,
Yeah,
an ISY, and they were born here?
Yeah, no, that's completely fine. If they can provide it, that's completely okay. And I was gonna say too, and even if they're not, for some reason or another, able to get in the program, or for some reason it was denied or something, they can still come to the events that we're hosting. I mean, we're for the community, so they can still come. They can still use our resources. They can still come into our front and use the computer lab. They can still come to our resume classes that we host every week. I mean, this is, where it's open to the community. Even though they're not on the WIOA program, they can still come. There's no reason why we would not accept them. But as far as providing like financial supportive services, we wouldn't be able to do that. But as far as the other things, they can still utilize other services for sure.
All right. Thank you so much, Pops.
No problem.
12 on the dot.
Hey, there you go. Perfect.
But can we end it with questions that the team might have?
Of course.
All right, team. Do y'all have any questions? Or did you want to say thank you to Pops? Hello.
This is really good.
I want to say thank you for all the information. Anything we can get and share with our families, the more resources we know about, the better it gets for them. So I know you and I talked about at Howard about being migrant ourselves, so we know what it is about. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
No problem.
This is a great program. I think this is Carol. This is a great program. I think probably the biggest hurdle is to get the kids to follow through and do the things and the paperwork and things they need to do to get started. And once they get started, it's probably like, wow, this is great.
Yeah,
it's just get
exactly.
Done
it's always that first.
It's going to happen, and it's really great. And so thanks so much for everything you do.
Of course. Yeah, it's always a first step, and I always tell the youth who come in, but if you could just get past the first step, the first 2 hours of me talking to you and getting through this paperwork, you know, it'll be okay. It'll be good. It's just, you know, working with, I mean, y'all know, working with the youth, working with families, it can, you know, it creates some barriers, but, you know, over time, if you could just get them to finish one thing, it'd be good. But so.
All right, well, so then we will let you go. Thank you for meeting with us.
No problem.
I have, hold on.